in my boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Come on! We're streaking! Come on! Come on! We're on! Come on! We're streaking!
The great Frank the Tank. The Kings are streaking right now. Happy Monday, everybody. This feels so weird. Going against my buddy, friend of the show, Jim Rome. He's trying to bite on our time slot. He pushed his show to 12 p.m. So, Jimmy, we'll see how the numbers shake out. I'm sorry for the viewers that I take from you, Jim. I'm just kidding. Are you kidding me? Romy can have whatever time slot he wants to have. Is it Rido Monday? Yeah, I got a couple of them. I do have a couple of them. Now, some of the fan base is not very happy with me right now. Been taking a lot over the last 18 hours. Bring it. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me why I am wrong. I mean, I had people. So to get an idea of my routine, about 3:30 in the morning, eyes are open, getting to work. I'm starting to read articles, formulate my opinions, looking at stats, rewatching games, recording the Kings Court shoot around, talking to sources. It's off and running. And I had a dude that was hitting me up all last night. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll hit him back up this morning. It's like 4:20 something in the morning. Within like 22 seconds, the guy had responded. And I know he's local to Sacramento. So I have fired some people up about my comments, and I've got the numbers to back it up. So I invite anybody to come in here and give me your argument against it. It's fine. That's what this is about. But I guess one thing I want to explore besides this Kings winning streak, which hopefully bleeds into tonight against the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler, looking forward to that one, is how do I put this? Like, have you ever had a first love? Well, that's where we're going to start. Have you ever had a first love, right? High school crush. Like, you thought you were going to marry that person and your heart was so broken when you broke up. Hell, maybe you are married to your high school sweetheart. Who knows? But I just don't get this infatuation. Like, there is a segment of this fan base that's like, if we don't have De'Aaron Fox, we don't have anything. If we don't have De'Aaron Fox, we don't have a star. What are we going to do? Well, I'm like, what's going on? And I want to understand it because I see both sides of it. But I want to have a bigger conversation too. Yeah, Horse had 13 first loves. I thought it said frat loves at first, Tristan. Horse is a different guy. But yes, indeed, the beam is lit, or was lit, I should say. Did you hear the Warriors fans last night trying to quiet that beam chat down and booing? Get the hell out of here. You guys don't own your own building. Catchy, isn't it? It's nice to hear it 4 times in a row. We've got a lot of content. NFL, NBA. We'll talk Kings tonight. Also, Jerry Jones. I almost had his back. We'll talk about it on the other side. And Malik Monk. This is important to me. We've talked a lot on this show, and I've told you about the people that I have talked to around the team about what might be different with Doug Christie. What is it that's getting through to these guys that wasn't getting through to Mike Brown? I speculated based off of conversations. Malik Monk confirms it for us. So we'll get to that. Give me your thoughts. Get in here. Call the show. A lot to go over. Welcome to a Monday on the Kings Court.
Grant and Ryan break it down. be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of... Williams, the D-Hop. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that.
Amen. Court is in session. What's going on, Ryan in Sacktown with you? Hope you had a great weekend. Weekend around here was pretty darn good. What did all of you do? Watch some Kings basketball, watch some NFL. Adam, if you're out there somewhere.
It's Tiffy time.
Adam, it is Tiffy time. By the way, the debut of Raw on Netflix tonight. WWE is making a massive deal out of this show. Massive deal. But the best show going in town right now is the Kings. 4 games in a row, numbers through the damn roof. Offensively, last night, a complete ass kicking in Golden State, in San Francisco, and it was not a coincidence. Don't tell me the Warriors were on a second night of a back-to-back. Don't tell me the Warriors were missing Pajemski and missing Kuminga, because yes, they were missing them, but guess what? Steph Curry was still on the court. Steph Curry didn't play the night before, and Keon Ellis and Devin Carter got back to the basics. They face guarded Steph Curry. They denied Steph Curry. I was sitting there watching this game at one point into the second quarter, and I'm like, this is like watching an inspired high school basketball team play defense, the way they were denying on the perimeter. I challenge you, go watch any NBA game from yesterday, this weekend. Tell me how many times you will find people denying their defender on the perimeter. Rarely happens in the NBA. Something is clicking with this team. Now, Grant said it last night, and I'm with him. They have ran into some luck, but that's nothing new. This team's ran into a lot of luck along the way, both last season, playoff year, and at times this year. It's just now they're starting to take advantage of it. And does that luck continue into tonight? The Miami Heat in Sacramento. They were in Sacktown last night, an easy travel for the Kings. They didn't have to worry about getting on a plane. They just got on the bus, made the trip up I-80, and are back home and rested. Hopefully, we'll see if De'Aaron Fox is a go tonight. He's a game time decision. Personally, I don't see any reason to rush him back, especially with the schedule that you have coming up later this week. You're going to be hitting the road, and it's going to get brutal. You got Milwaukee, you've got Boston, Chicago, who's been playing decent basketball, just beat New York this weekend. So you've got a little road trip that the Kings are going to have to handle, but it's looking pretty decent right now. And tell you what, the Kings are back into the regular standings. Look, I can show you the Western Conference in one screen now. How about that? The Kings on their 4-game winning streak, not exactly 15 like Oklahoma City. They are killing it right now. Oklahoma City's the real deal. But the Kings making their way back. And what's a little bit more encouraging to me is looking at some of these teams like the Timberwolves. I didn't think the Timberwolves at this point of the season would be hanging around where they're at now. They've been right there between about 6 and 10 all season. They don't appear to really be going anywhere anytime soon. San Antonio, that's a bit of a surprise. And the Clippers, they got Kawhi Leonard back over the weekend. Defensively, it looked okay. Offensively, it's going to be a work in progress. That goes for Devin Carter too, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But you have to be encouraged right now if you are a Kings fan. And like I said, Malik Monk said it all for me last night about what the difference is between how the Kings are buying in right now with Doug Christie versus how they were playing with Mike Brown. And it's a simple difference. Doug played the game. It's communication. The schemes maybe a little bit toned down. I've said it over this last week that one person specifically that I talked to said that they feel like they're just playing and not thinking as much. And that makes a big difference. Did you see when Keon hit the court last night against Golden State? Doug was right out there, and Steve Kerr, dude, settle down, my man. Steve Kerr.
That's terrible.
It was a back screen. He didn't flop. If you watch the replay, Keon Ellis did not flop. I get why Steve Kerr may have thought that in the moment. Remember, this is kind of a quasi rivalry game. It really hasn't been since the playoffs, since the Kings beat the Warriors in the play-in, although this is the first time they've met since then. But Keon, that was on Malik Monk or whoever else was on the court right there, not calling out the back screen. But what did Doug Christie do? He ran out there and got his guys' backs. And I appreciate that. Would Mike Brown have done that? Probably would have done it in his own way, but his own way is not what an NBA player usually does. To me, that was not Doug Christie when I watched that, and I watched it back this morning. It's the little small things to me. But that was not Doug like going over because it's what you're supposed to do. That was a natural reaction. Doug ran over there. He knew Keon was fine. He put his hand, he's like, Keon, just stay down for a second. Just stay down. But he had his man, and that's contagious. That is absolutely contagious. Malik Monk had a massive game last night. Last night was by far the best game this Kings team has played in the last year and a half. Maybe second to the play-in game against the Warriors. Hands down, in my opinion. If you think there's a better game, let me know. And it was without De'Aaron Fox. Now, I said I'm taking some right now because of what I said last night, and I stand by it. Last night factors 0% into my stance because I've had this stance for the last probably 6 to 8 months. You could even say almost a year. Here's what I said last night on the postgame show.
Monk is not taking the star power away from De'Aaron. I don't agree with that at all.
That's crazy. Okay, we've been asking, and I grant I've done this on this show. We done it a couple weeks ago. We've been asking the question. I have been asking the question to people around the team, people that cover the team, to all of you. Do De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis make each other better? And unequivocally, the answer is Domas makes Fox better.
No question.
Does De'Aaron make Domas better? Either it's a no answer or it's a no. Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis make each other better, and it's not a Malik personal thing. It is Malik's style of basketball.
It's the truth.
It's how Malik plays the game.
Right. It's the truth.
It's nothing personal against De'Aaron. It's just like if you ask James Harden to go make Domas better. It doesn't fit together, and that's why. And so on and so forth. We kept the conversation going from there, but I stand by it. And it pissed a lot of people off. Some people are like, oh, you're just doing this off of one game. No. If you've been watching this show, I've been talking about it for a really long time. Now, last night was a good example of it. And it's not a Malik Monk specific thing. It's a team style of basketball. Doug Christie talked about it after last night's game as well. We're going to hear from him. We're also going to hear from Malik Monk about what he said, what's different about Doug Christie, and why this team is actually following the game plans and executing. First, want to get to the calls. You are more than welcome to call the show, get up in here, argue with me, do what you want. Talk about what you want to talk about. We'll get to the chat in a second. I love talking to this guy, Mr. Moss. What's up?
Hey, man, how you doing, Rhino?
Good. How you doing, man?
No, man, happy New Year to you and your family, and not too bad, man. Can't complain. I mean, you and Grant are spot on. I mean, we can see it. I mean, Malik makes Domantas better. I don't see De'Aaron and Sabonis doing that little pick and roll pocket pass, him rolling to the basket. I mean, just watch the flow of the game. You know, when Monk comes in the game, he's not looking just to score. He's looking to run the high pick and roll. Sabonis cuts to the basket, and the little pocket pass, it's there consistently. Yep. And so, I mean, there's no shame in that. I mean, Fox can still be a very, very good player and still lack in that area. I mean, people act like we can't criticize certain things about players' games. And I'm on the record saying this, man. I don't think Fox is the Kings' best player. That's just me. I've always had that stance. I think Sabonis is the Kings' best player. He's their most impactful player. You can't tell me a guy who's a double-double machine, right? Leads your team in assists most of the time. Double-doubles. You know, he can score it. He can pass it. He can rebound. He's their best all-around most impactful player. And so I never bought into this thing that De'Aaron Fox is the Kings' best player. He's a very dynamic guard. You know, I compare Fox and Domantas the way I compare Jalen Green on my Rockets with Sagoon. Yeah, Jalen is dynamic, but come on. run that offense through the big guy, right? I mean, he's the most impactful player. You said something that caught my eye, or my ear. You said, Monk's going to talk about the difference between Christie and how the team is reacting to him and following the game plan. Would I be wrong if I said this, Rhino? Because the Kings have won some games as of late, right? They've won some games, and a change was made. You think people are overreacting? Are they still being level-headed? Can we put context behind it? Have they caught some teams at the right time?
Right.
I don't want to, I mean, listen, I talk to Kings fans just like you do. My family's Kings fans, and they're excited. And I says, well, you guys kind of caught some teams at the right time, and you won some games. But we can praise the style of play, we can praise what's happening, but we still have to, balance it out, because I don't think they beat, a road beater in the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. They've caught some teams, at the right time, injuries, what have you. And tonight, Miami, right? Jimmy's not playing tonight. And so you're going to be catching teams, at the most opportune times. What's your thoughts on that?
I think you're spot on. You do have to balance it out. Yes, teams have been without their best players. You expect there to be a bump when a new head coach comes in. But the execution, I go back to that, and I'll just play it right now. And let me know what you think. Here's what Malik said after the game.
What DC doing? We all just bought into it right now, and we all feel good and we're confident in what he's saying.
Are you able to articulate that at all, like what it is about maybe him or his messaging that just resonates with this guy, with this group?
He's a player. He played before, so I think he knows how to say it to us a little better than people that didn't play.
Ooh, my first time seeing that. I don't like it. Can I say why?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't like it, Malik. Come on, bro. You're a veteran. You're a veteran in this league. Now, people may take it different than the way I took that statement.
Okay. How'd you take it?
Yeah. What does he mean? He's listening and he's buying into Doug Christie. Mike Brown is an NBA champion. Mike Brown's been around some of the best players in NBA history. He's coached to Kobe Bryant. He's coached to LeBron James. He's been on the Golden State Warriors team around Steve Kerr. He knows what championship environment is like. And so you don't have to play the game to be respected in this league. And so I get that players have this bond and this camaraderie. And I know Doug is probably just a fun guy and he can relate. I get all of that. But come on, Malik. I mean, the team can't be picking and choosing who they want to listen to, right? And so I didn't like that, man. That's just me, though. But, I mean, what do you think?
The back end, it was the last few words Malik Monk said. Yeah. It's the way he communicates with us. I think that was the biggest problem, and that's what I was hearing based off of the disconnect, the 26 possessions after possessions after possessions. There was an aspect where the guys felt like it was more like they were being talked down to rather than talked with. And, Moss, this, you've been around professional sports. It's not little league. It's managing personalities. You have to treat them like professionals. And I think if you want to say Mike Brown's fatal flaw, probably a little bit too much micromanagement compared to his first 2 years here in Sacramento, where he gave the players more autonomy.
Okay. Well, I'll close out. Just let me close out, respond to that, and then I'll let you have it. I can't argue that, because sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yep.
And your approach to certain things have to be on point. And you're right. Professional athletes, this isn't college basketball, right? Where the coach just has the total say so. These players have cachet, and Mike Brown knows it. They will get you up out of here. Oh, Mike. Oh, yeah, he's up out of here. And so that last part, me and you agree on. The way he communicates, is it fun? No. Is the intention good? I think. Of
Absolutely.
Course. I think Mike comes from a good place. But then I can also say, that's what's wrong with our league nowadays. See, I don't mind the Larry Browns, the Greg Popoviches,
Me either. I love it.
The George Karls, the Phil Jacksons, to a certain degree, Mike Malone, Coach Mike Browns, coaches who aren't afraid to call out their players, right? not afraid to. Now, could that be that he's come up under a Spurs organization, the Cavaliers, where maybe that's just what he's used to? I don't think Steve Kerr was like that. I mean, I don't get that from Steve Kerr. But why can't coaches coach though? I mean, what? Mike Brown can't coach Darren Hart. He can't coach Malik Hart. So I mean,
so Moss,
again,
really
balance.
quick. You're right about balance, but you have to be consistent with what you do. If you're going to coach hard, it's got to be from the start of your tenure all the way. If you go to play for Pop, you know Pop ain't changing for you. Pop is going to do his system. He's going to coach the way that he wants to coach, just like you said, and nothing changes that. Same thing if you're going to go play for a Bobby Knight or Frank Martin. Any of those guys, they get really, really worked up, that can get really angry, but also give a lot of love too at the same time in different ways. And I think Mike, who has been more of a player's coach, once he got that extension and pressure was building a little bit in the organization to a degree. You've got DeMar DeRozan, you've got the big Fox decision looming. I think maybe he tried to pull back a little bit on what he had given to the players. And once you give something to the players and they feel like they're doing okay and they're doing the right things, and then you try to pull it back, that's going to be a problem with them. You know that. It turns into a little bit of a tug of war, more or less. And then the little things turn into big things. But I'm with you. It's the way that players can get coaches fired these days is insane.
Just real quick, Rhino, I knew something was kind of going wrong when Mike would come out and make a statement after a game and say, the defense. And then DeMontis comes out and says, no, it's the offense, blah, blah, blah. And that's the sign of, these guys are not on the same page. And just real quick too, you think winning, I think teams who win, I think these things go on in a lot of locker rooms and things like that. But winning cures everything. Things are swept under the rug. Do you think if the Kings had a winning record and Mike was still this way, you think he would still be here? Even with his attributes and the way he does coach?
Say that again. If they were winning, but these things were still going on behind the scenes.
Let's say Mike was still coaching guys hard and still had some flaws in his interpersonal skills with the players and not coaching the way that they thought they should have been coached or communicated with. But the Kings are squeaking out wins, and let's say they're 2 or 3 games above 500. Like, you think Mike Brown's coaching style changed 2 years ago when they won those games, 3rd seed, compared to now? Like, that drastic? It's hard for me to believe.
He's 100% admitted to it. Last year.
Oh, he has? Okay.
Yeah, last year, right around the play-in, he was asked about the offense and the changes from the playoff year to the year where the Kings only won 46 and they didn't make the playoffs and they had to go into the play-in. And he said one of the big differences is I called a ton of plays in 22-23. This year, I've barely called any plays. And I think he put a percentage to it, which was like about 85% of the time the players calling plays and 15% of the time him calling plays. And then you go to this preseason, Moss, and the offense looks awful other than the first half of the Golden State game, which was the first preseason game of the season. And the Kings can't make a 3. And before the first game of the season, Mike comes out and says, hey, you can put that on me because I tied the guys' hands behind their backs. I told them they could only play out of these couple sets. And from that point on, it's like, well, I don't know if my rotation's going to be right. I need to get comfortable with it. And then how many times did we hear somehow, some way, somehow, some way?
That's fair.
To me, when you're going up and somebody that I talk to that's around the team, they're like, when you hear somehow, some way as a player, that's basically saying what's in the locker room isn't good enough. We need a higher power to come in and save this thing. And that kind of clicked for me. I got that. And if you hear somehow, some way one time, okay, whatever. But it was almost every post game towards the end of his tenure here.
Well, thanks for clarifying that because I was a little off base on that. So I was unaware of all that. So thanks for clarifying that, man. And like always, thanks for allowing me to come on and speak. And maybe sometime today or in the upcoming show, I want you to kind of give your thoughts on the Rockets. They got a big win last night. Well, not a big win. I mean, still Lakers. I mean, they're not really a contending team, but Ahmed Thompson has been playing out of his mind, but I won't hold.
Yeah.
I won't keep him. But we can talk about that on another date, man. But yeah, man. So thanks, Rhino.
For sure. Thanks, Moss.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, brother. Kicking off the new year, kicking off the new week. Well, thank you, Mr. Moss. Shots are falling under Doug. And I think there's a bigger context and a reason to that. And that's kind of what we're going to get into. And we're going to hear from Doug. If you listen to the show over the weekend, the pregame show, or you listen to Friday shows, we played audio from Doug about the synergistic style of basketball, the energy that goes around when you're playing as a team and the ball is moving. And also, Doug talked about something that's so important. He was so right. And I want to be clear. I'm not sitting here and saying Doug Christie is the savior of this team. I'm not sitting here saying that this team is totally fine now. Doug's going to lead them to the playoffs. What I'm saying is one of the problems has been cleaned up, and that's communication. The communication between the players and the head coach appears to be drastically different. You can't argue that. It is way different. Doug's talked about it. Malik has now talked about it. And you can see it in the way that Doug is even coaching on the sidelines. He is empowering them. He's okay with mistakes. What has Doug said so many times? This game is about who makes the least amount of mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. So he gets all that stuff, but there's certain things that are non-negotiable. Here's the other thing that I love. He's put a number to the 3-ball. He wants to see 40 a game. Last night, the Kings shot 43, which was fine. That was fine in a game like that. And Doug said that. But he also, remember, a lot of you took issue with Mike Brown. I know Grant's taken issue with Mike Brown. Let it fly. Spray it and let it fly. Spray it and let it fly. Doug's like, Like, I want you guys to shoot, but if you miss a couple of shots, drive the ball, kick the ball. So there are some little differences in the effort, non-negotiable. The hustle, non-negotiable. And as for the defense, you can see it's gotten back to some of the basics. It really has. They're not doubling as much. They're not leaving guys in the corner as much. The denying of the ball on the perimeter, that is so important, and it is so basic. Jerry talked about that a couple of shows ago when we had him on. So a lot to get to. In fact, let's start listening to Doug, and then we're going to dig through your comments because I know some of you are taking offense to some of my takes. Here's Doug after the game last night.
Doug, you have Miami, obviously, tomorrow, and then...
Excuse me. That's the last one. That's a Rido. That is a how you lose your credential question right there. So let's start off at the other end.
Ball pressure and being able to score on the other end there.
Yeah, it's tough. That's not going to obviously happen every night, especially against great players like Steph. It's not. But that type of commitment, and that's why I told him, commitment to a game plan doesn't have. It says everything about them. It just has nothing to do with what I do. You guys committed to it. You guys held each other accountable. You guys fought for each other. You multiple effort for each other. And that's all you can ask. Will you always get this result? No, I think that's not it. But the result that you will get is continued effort, continue down the path of us to establish our identity.
Then
love that he's talking about identity there. Coach Christie again last night.
Just a high level of competition and competitive nature that super excited for those guys. They play hard. They play their heart out. And like I tell them, is at the end of the night, when you do that, you can look yourself in the mirror and you can be proud at whatever. You're not always going to win, and you're not always going to have winning streaks and those things. But the one thing that you can control is how you go out and how you attack. And I thought that they continued down the path of my expectations.
Coach Christie, that first quarter in that lineup, how do you feel about, getting that type of start? Because that's been something in the past that, not exactly the plague or anything like that, but it seemed like it's improving each game.
Just trying to get them to be aggressive, trust each other, and play for each other. When I look down at the stat sheet and I see 31 assists, I'm smiling. When I see 40 plus threes taken, I'm smiling. And most of those are going to be where we get in the paint, play off 2 feet under control, spray the ball out. You got it, shoot it. If you don't, give it one more drive, kick it, and continue on doing that. And those type of things, it's contagious. Everyone's touching the ball. Everyone feels good about themselves. Then we go to the other end and help each other the same way.
We help each other the same way. All right, let's hit the elephant in the room that I'm talking about. Because I know some of you are saying I'm crazy, you're out, you don't want to hear it. We'll get to a couple of these questions. And thank you for all the chats. Appreciate you being here on the King's Court. Don't forget, you got Grant, 5 o'clock tonight. He's going to be doing open forum. And then we have got full coverage of the Kings and the Heat tonight, beginning 6:15 with the pregame, halftime with Jerry Reynolds, and postgame, taking your phone calls. All right, to the chat, and let's talk this out. I want to give you my point of view because I, just like Mr. Moss, heard the Doug Christie or the Malik Monk sound a certain way, and I heard it a different way. I want you to try to understand what I'm saying. And Progressive says it right here. With all due respect, you guys are out of your minds if you think the Kings are better without De'Aaron Fox. He is undoubtedly the heart of the team. I don't disagree, Progressive. I am not saying that the Kings are better without De'Aaron Fox. What I am saying is you have two clashing styles. The style that Doug Christie is talking about playing, the style that Mike Brown is talking about or was talking about playing, with the ball moving and everybody touching the ball. And the DeMar DeRozan element really makes it even all the more complicated because you now have another ball stopper. What I am saying is it is incredibly difficult to play that style of basketball at a high level because what you lose in ball movement with a guard like De'Aaron Fox doesn't show up on the stat sheets. It's touches for the other guys. It's the ball movement around the horn. So you might be getting 2 from De'Aaron, but then when the ball touches Trey Lyles' hands for the first time in 8 possessions or Keegan's hands for the first time in 3 possessions, believe it or not, that's a tough ask. Unless you've played basketball, you don't understand it. There is a flow to this game. There is an energy to the basketball. What I'm saying is I don't believe that you can have a De'Aaron Fox type of guard and play the style that the Kings want to play at the highest level. You can win games with De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox will get his. But here's the question I'll ask you. When De'Aaron Fox is not getting his, what is he doing for everybody else? Many nights, the turnovers are in line with the assists, the turnovers and assists. They're close to each other. Sometimes he has big assist nights. This type of offense, theoretically, that they want to run, look at a Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a great example of this. Look at the Warriors. Look at a Mike Bibby when the Kings ran this back in the day. Look at how those types of point guards play. And Steph is actually a bad example there because he's more of that 2 guard. But what I'm saying is a guy like Sabonis, if you're going to have a Sabonis on your team, you are not getting the maximum output of your team by having an ISO guard that is the center of the show, because the two of them do not mix. They do not play well together. They do not make each other better. They don't. Doesn't mean it doesn't make the Kings better. They don't make each other better. And those are your 2 best players. What I'm saying is you have to run two completely separate styles to get each of them involved in their own ways. The theory behind what the Kings want to do is it is one style across the board. Now, last night was a very good example of it. It was. What I'm saying is this team, I truly believe, would be better off with a true point guard that can score, a true point guard that can score at the helm, much like Malik Monk, where the ball moves around. It shows in the sample sizes too. In fact, you can't really dispute these numbers. Here's the two-man net ratings from this year. Domas and Monk are at the bottom. Domas and Fox right there towards the middle. Across the board, Domas and Monk have better numbers together. Across the board. Their net rating together is almost double that of the net rating of De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. This is not a disrespect, a slight to De'Aaron Fox. What I'm saying is it's his style. It comes with a cost, and the cost is ball movement. The ball movement is not there with De'Aaron on the court. Not the same that the ball movement is when you have a point guard like Malik running the show. And this isn't exactly De'Aaron's fault either. This is a spot where the Kings have faltered, in my opinion. They have not had a true point guard on their roster since 22-23, even when they made the playoffs. So the shooting dips this year, if it was just Keegan, okay, I get it. It's across the board with the team. And Doug made an excellent point the other night. It's not just about passing the ball. It's about making sure that you're putting the ball in the right spot for your teammate. If you're going to do the work to create an advantage and spray it out to your teammate, you have to pass that advantage along to your teammate, which means putting the ball in the right spot, a spot where the guys are ready to shoot, a spot where they want it, their sweet spot. You always hear the announcers say, oh, he lined up the seams on that one. That's what I'm saying to a degree. It's that type of movement. This offense, you can't argue this either. This offense turned around, and it still has not fully turned around, but what turned this offense around was going away from the dribble handoff. They still do it from time to time, but when Malik Monk stepped into the starting lineup, Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis were predominantly running the offense based off of pick and roll. Now, they were getting De'Aaron Fox involved on the weak side. They're bringing him downhill off a screen to get him moving without the ball, but that's what the change has been. Do you understand the difference of the ask of the other team and the defense when you have an offense that is putting pressure on the defense? The Kings, the last few games, have made other teams have to guard them. The pick and roll has been what has bailed this team out. It bailed them out against Memphis. It dominated Golden State last night. And De'Aaron Fox is not a pick and roll guard. He's just not. Again, no disrespect to him. If you take him off the team right now and you replace it with nothing else, no, the Kings are not better. What I am saying is with the right move, this team could be much better because the output you will get from everybody else. You'll see the numbers go back to normal for your Kevin Huerters, for your Trey Lyles, for your Keegan Murrays. You're starting to see that. That's what I'm trying to say. And I guess, I don't know what the big objection is in Sacramento about having an open mind to that. I I would love to get your guys' thoughts. Call the show. You want to tell me I'm wrong? You want to pick at my points? Pick at them. My arguments are backed up by stats. I just put the numbers up for this season. There is a reason that Coach Brown went away from the dribble handoff when Malik Monk went into the starting lineup. There is a reason for that. And this is the reason. Corey, I love Fox, but I'm torn on what to do. Part of me thinks trading him is what can get you the pieces to be a serious contender now and going forward. He's your ticket to missing pieces in draft picks. Agreed. And here's the other part of what I'm saying. If y'all are saying that it's De'Aaron Fox is the guy, then you need to start thinking about who you're going to move out. That's who you got to start thinking about. Is it going to be Sabonis? Is it going to be DeRozan? Because one of those guys needs to go for a couple of reasons. The style that you're going to play with De'Aaron Fox. And the second reason is you need more depth. This team is not there. Those are the pieces that you have. You're not going to give up Devin Carter because he fits in perfectly defensively with what the Kings want to do. And his offense will come along. It will come along. But defensively, that is where the Kings really need him. And being able to pick up full court, being able to pressure without fouling. We talked about it as a key last night on the postgame or on the pregame show, and it's exactly what the Kings did. It was a clean first half. There was barely a whistle in the first quarter, and the Kings turned the Warriors over 8 times. 8 times in the first quarter. Progressive sticking with Fox. All right. Very good. Flores. How many teams trade a top 5 scorer in their prime and get better right away? Look, if you look at the top of the NBA, you look at what the Boston Celtics did. You look at what the New York Knicks did. All these teams are taking risks, and they are in much better spots than the Sacramento Kings. They were in much better spots before they took risks. Minnesota, what did they do? They traded Cat to bring in Julius Randle. You have to take risks to take the next step. Because if you want to argue that De'Aaron Fox has not had the pieces around him, and that's been the problem, then what do I say to you, or what do you say to me when I say Trae Young? He did it on his own. Jalen Brunson, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They were the piece. They elevated their teams. 1 playoff appearance in 7 years. Do you really have reason to believe that things are going to change with another 4 or 5 years? I just don't. And again, it's not a product of last night. I have been saying this for a while. Something has to give, either the system or the player. There's nothing in between. It's either the system or the player. Because you can't keep running a pick and roll offense and a motion offense with De'Aaron Fox at the helm. You can't do it. It does not work. It doesn't. De'Aaron Fox is closer to a Russell Westbrook, a James Harden, those guys, than he is an SGA or the other players. And I love De'Aaron. I love De'Aaron. It hurts thinking about having to trade De'Aaron Fox, the thought of it. It's not easy to come up here and say the Kings should trade De'Aaron Fox. But I truly believe in my heart, with what I know about basketball, what I've watched with this team over his tenure in Sacramento, and looking at the numbers over the last 3 years, you are better off getting the compensation, if it is the right move, it has to be the right move. That is the caveat. It has to be the right move. It can't be a Buddy Hield, a John Salmons, and a second-round pick in return. No. It's got to work both ways. It's not a fire sale. That's where Monty McNair needs to be good. But I just cannot imagine the next 4 or 5 years being any different. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result. Donald, need to see more of the starting lineup without Fox. We'll see tonight. It might not look good as it did last night. It might not. You're absolutely right. It might not. We have to see the big C, the consistency. Does this continue for the Kings? Does Doug Christie continue to get through to them? Does the communication still work? What's going to happen when the Kings run into teams that are at full strength? What's going to happen when the Kings run into teams with a bona fide superstar, top 5 player in the NBA? How are the Kings going to deal with that? BJ, no Fox. BJ, what's up, dude? Fox is clutch in the fourth. I think that's the biggest strength, but it's not a winning formula night in and night out. It's not. That's the thing. You look at De'Aaron's numbers. The Los Angeles Lakers game was the best example of this. He had 14 points going into the fourth quarter. He got most of his points in garbage time. He was a minus 16 for the game against the Lakers. And then by the end of the fourth quarter, or through 3 quarters, he was a minus 16. By the fourth quarter, in the end of the game, he was a minus 5. It happened in garbage time. Trading Fox and keeping a 35-year-old DeRozan is bad. Look, DeRozan is secondary to this. You need one more piece here that fits. Again, I go back to, if the Kings want to play this simplistic style of offense and pressure defense, even defensively with De'Aaron, I get his numbers look pretty good on the ball. There's a lot of gambling there too. And what's opened, if you want to be frank about it, with the steals, what's opened De'Aaron Fox up to get those steals is guys like Keon Ellis, guys like Malik Monk, guys that are Keegan Murray, that are taking the best player on the court. De'Aaron Fox rarely takes the best guard on the court. The other guys do, and it allows him to play free safety, which is perfect. That is his strength. That is what teams should do. You play towards your strengths and you understand your weaknesses. The strength of this team is ball movement and pick and rolls. Those are not his strengths. And I guess that's why I don't understand why people think this is so out there, especially after we've had 7 years and 1 playoff berth. Like, what makes you think something's going to be different? De'Aaron might stay in the top 5 in the NBA in scoring, but is the team going to increase in wins? Again, I love the kid, but it's either him or the system. Changes have to be made. One or the other. Period. End of story. And if it's going to be him, then you've got to start looking at what those other moves are going to be. Is it going to be Keegan Murray? And by the way, there's no guarantee, let's throw this in there, that Foxy is still going to be in Sacramento. There's no guarantee he's going to re-sign here. That's the other wild card. You have to throw that. There is a huge element of that is included in my thinking. Monty McNair walked the plank with Bogey, and he fell off. Monty McNair walked the plank with Malik Monk, and he came back. You can't do that with De'Aaron Fox. It's too valuable. You will set this franchise back 6-7 years if you lose that guy for nothing. This take is good, Ryan Fox. I think our Roomy gonna fill a lot of the team holes on offense and defense. A real point guard answer. I'm just saying, you've never seen a real point guard. Malik Monk is the closest thing that you have seen to a real point guard in the Beam Team era here in Sacramento in the last 3 years. It is the closest thing that you have seen to it. And look at how it bears out. Again, if you are just joining the show, here's the two-man analytics for the Sacramento Kings this season. Sabonis and Fox, right there, third line. Sabonis and Monk, bottom line. The numbers don't lie. A true point guard gets the most out of Domantas Sabonis. What I'm telling you is there's a lot more you can get from Domas that you are not getting from him right now, or you're starting to see from him with the Malik Monk. And the pressure that puts on, I go back to this, the pressure that it puts on the defense opens everyone else up. It gets everybody else more involved in the game. That is why you are seeing the shooting numbers go up. Doug Christie last night.
I think that they're playing for each other. I'm trying to get them to understand that, like, that's the way basketball should be played in my mind. It's not like golf and tennis. It's different. Those are sports. They're individual sports. You got a support staff around you, obviously, but this is a team sport. And in team sport, you got teams that play one-man basketball, two-man basketball. I'm looking for five-man basketball, and that's a really high level. This is what this fantastic fan base and team has done for many years that led them to championships. It's all of them playing, balls moving, guys are cutting. I'm cutting for my teammate. I'm moving the ball. I'm sharing the ball. I'm rebounding. I'm all those things. And I think there's a joy in that. And I think that's a little bit of what you're recognizing.
Okay. And then that sequence where Keon took the shot in the back and went down, and then you stepped out on the floor, looked like maybe there were some words exchanged. Can you just tell us what was going on there?
I mean, I'm just always protecting my player. That's really all it is. I have the utmost respect for every single player over there. I know from playing in this league what they go through and watching them reach the highest level. So it's nothing but love. The competitive nature of the game is the competitive nature. And I think that you respect that. I respect how hard they play. I respect how they get after it. But one thing, make no mistake about it, is I'm going to defend my guys, because they deserve that. They play hard, and I'm going to be right there for them.
Doug.
Coach Christie, again last night, 5-man basketball. They're dropping a lot of nuggets here. If you want to go back to the heyday of the Sacramento Kings, it was 5-man basketball. It's not a De'Aaron Fox personal thing. It's just his game. He is a one-on-one player. He is an ISO player. And I see some of you saying, well, it's DeRozan. They're completely different in so many ways. Look, both routes, I see both routes. What I'm saying is you've tried the first route for 7 years. And has it worked? You got to the playoffs one time, and Domas was a part of that. So it's a hell of an argument. I'm seeing questions. Who do you think the point guard would be? Look, I've been looking through who's available, who's not available, who's looking to make trades, who's not looking to make trades. Quite frankly, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. And quite frankly, it's not my responsibility to decide who that person is. I think there's different guys out there when you think about the guards that thrive with the pick and roll, the guards that elevate their teammates. but that's on Monty. I could give you a couple names, but I don't want to do that because when I give names, everybody says, "Oh, Ryan said trade this person for this person." No, there's a lot more that goes into it. I'm just trying to open your minds a little bit to this because there is something to it with the 5-man basketball. And the stalling out that we saw earlier this season, it's because you saw 5 guys playing 1-man basketball. Even though your starting lineup was amongst probably the most loaded starting lineups in the NBA. You had 5 individuals playing a team sport. You are starting to see during this 4-game winning streak, and when the Kings have won this season and looked good against the Rockets, you saw 5 guys playing as one, not 5 guys playing as themselves. So it's a very, very explosive, loaded conversation, controversial conversation, because again, I am a big De'Aaron Fox guy. It just seems he named names, Tristan. When have I said names? The last time I said a name, you guys were putting stuff on the internet, which is fine. I will respond to it. Saying Rhino said trade De'Aaron Fox for TJ McConnell. I never said that. I never said that. I said you need that type of point guard on this roster, whether it's in a backup role, wherever it's at. You need that type of point guard on this roster that puts pressure on the defense, that distributes to everybody, that can also score when they're open. That's the type of point guard that you're looking for. Devin Carter, 13 points plus defense was nice. Yeah, his offense is going to be a little bit of a work in progress. It's going to be a work in progress, but I'm excited. Doug trusts him, and he has empowered him very much to go out there and play. And one thing that you should be so encouraged about when it comes to Devin Carter is clearly the game is not too fast for him right now defensively. So Progressive, one of my favorite people to go back and forth with. Respect your opinion, but we'll continue to push back whenever I disagree. It's all in good faith. Absolutely. Progressive, I love it. That's why we're here. Damn right.
Acknowledge me.
Please. You know why, Progressive? That's how the conversation gets forwarded. That's how we make the conversation better. If I'm just sitting up here spitting out what I think, you can open my mind as well. So I love it. Keep it coming. Absolutely keep it coming. Let's see. I think the Kings have to rely on steals or being handsy on defense rather than blocking and altering shots. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why the denial on the perimeters, Doug said last night, between Devin and Keon, one of them asked to come out last night because they had been working so hard. And I thought that was great. I thought that was freaking awesome because that's what you want from those guys. And that's another thing. You are now properly utilizing, especially a Keon Ellis. You could even look back and say, was that Mike Brown's biggest mistake, not starting Keon Ellis? Jerry Reynolds says, hands down, it was his biggest mistake. Let's go back to the phones. Alex, what's up, my man?
What's going on, Rhino? How you doing?
Good. How you doing today, brother?
Good. Enjoying a half day off. I had a meeting a little bit ago, but now I got the rest of the day off, which is nice. I'm getting a little workout in as usual. So I did want to talk a little bit about. I know if you went over it, sorry, I just tuned in. But the Mike Brown stuff. I think there's a bigger respect factor with that. I do think they respect both Mike and Doug, obviously, but I think they respect Doug's word a lot more because he was a former player. It just seems like that. And Doug seems he's more like intimate with the guys. He's very touchy-feely, and he's hugging Keon, and he's grabbing Fox and touching Domas. I don't know if that has anything to do with it too, or being a former player, so the boundaries aren't there. I'm not sure. Have you seen that as well? Maybe I'm looking too deep into it.
Just about how we say it again? Touchy-feely?
Yeah. He's very intimate with the players. Like I remember 2 games ago, he was hugging Keon and grabbing him by the head and telling him certain things before he went inside. Obviously, when Fox got hurt, he was grabbing him and doing all that. He seems very, I don't know, like don't even know what a word besides intimate to use. He just seems, but I think because he's a former player, he doesn't have that boundary with them. I think they respect his word a little more than Mike, just because he's a former player. Again, I know Domas and him train in the off season. Maybe there's that too. Oh, I'm training with a former player. Again, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and I'm sure there's more that we don't know, but they're definitely listening to him a lot more, it seems like.
Yeah, we played a soundbite from Malik Monk earlier in the show where he said the communication is completely different. So I think there's an element there. Here's what I can say about Doug. He is just a different dude. He beats to his own drum.
Yeah.
He's very much into holistic stuff and different things. In fact, you guys probably see on the bench, it's been caught on TV a couple times. He's got an essential oil that he sniffs before every game, and then he throws the bottle to somebody. He's a different dude. That's Doug.
I'll have
I
to
don't know
look
how
at
else
that.
to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea about that. Now I didn't listen to the Friday show fully. Did you go over the Sasha quote that came out?
No, I did not.
Oh, and you heard about that, I assume, right? Or you read it or whatever?
I did not actually. So
okay. Well, it's out. It came out. I want to say it was Friday. Maybe the chat can help me out. Maybe it was Thursday, but I'm positive it was Friday. But basically, he was asked about the firing, Sasha, and he said that he didn't. I think there was a language barrier what he was saying, but it sounded like he said that they didn't. That he always tries to say something good about a coach, but he couldn't say something good about Mike, or they had bad communication, or I don't know what. And then even more that came into it, they were saying that could have been one of the first domino effects that got Domas in friction with Mike, which again he said she said, but those were the words from Sasha. Came out last week.
Very interesting. I'll have to go check it out. I know that Boogie had a few things to say about the Mike Brown firing, which very ironic.
What did he say? I haven't seen it.
I'm not going to go into a full recap, but you know, basically same thing over it. Yeah, Boogie, stop, my man. Just play your basketball in China, please.
Yeah.
Please.
No, for sure. Well, thank you for telling me that. And as far as the Fox stuff goes, I'm definitely still in the camp of don't trade him. I do think he's our best player. But I obviously yesterday being a 1-game sample size, the ball did move pretty damn well. But I think you do see that when a star player doesn't play, because even the Grizzlies said that too. When John Morant didn't play, we're moving the ball way better. Jaw's not dominating. The Mavericks have said that about Luka too. And even yesterday, because I like to look at the opposing teams' content, kind of like your guys's, but like the Locked On Warriors or the Locked On Mavericks, whatever, just to see what they're, because I think sometimes we're delusional, even me as well. I'm like, I wonder if other fan bases are delusional too. When they lose, do they get erratic? Do they think the world is falling? And they do. They're just like us. Yesterday I saw so many Warrior fans saying, "Oh man, our ball is moving so much better against the Grizzlies without Steph. Steph doesn't chuck up threes." I'm like, okay, so they're very similar to us the way we think. We kind of, exaggerate a little bit and think the world's falling. So I think it's interesting. Now, if for some reason Fox doesn't play against the Celtics and we blew out the Celtics, then maybe I'm like, okay, well, this is different. But yeah, yesterday the team looked pretty good. I just think overall, a lot of times when a star player isn't dominating the ball will move better. And Keegan and Herter made their shots yesterday, which hasn't happened, I feel like, all year. So that's a factor as well. But again, just trying to look at both sides of the spectrum, basically.
The only problem that I have with what you were using as the analogy is you said Ja Morant, Steph Curry, and Luka Doncic. De'Aaron Fox ain't in their club.
Yeah, he's not. I guess for us, he is, being a small whatever. He's our star, I guess you could say, in a big fish on a small pond, basically. If let's say he went to Dallas, Luka would still be the guy, obviously. Now, if he went to the Grizzlies, I do think, that wouldn't work, I don't think, at all, to be honest, because him and Ja are similar-ish. even though Jaw's more aggressive. I think he's in their stratosphere. He's not on their level. Obviously, they've had a lot more success than Fox has had. But I don't know, man. I do think at times I think I have that hometowner cap on with Fox just because I do think we haven't had a really good team around him. That's just kind of what I think. When Domas came, obviously things did change, but we haven't upgraded a whole lot besides that. And in like people compare De'Aaron and Shea, right? And obviously Shea is tremendous. He's MVP candidate basically. But man, he has a super good team around him, and they keep getting.
He didn't before. He didn't before. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They built around him because he elevated everybody. 7 years, one playoff run, y'all. It's like this first love. Like this franchise could never go on without De'Aaron Fox.
I think we can go on. But even with like Shea for a little bit, he wasn't successful instantly. You know what I mean? And I do think it's a factor of our owner not wanting to go over the salary cap stuff, to the apron or whatever, because we've given away draft picks just to not go over. And I think it's hard to succeed in today's NBA like that as well. If you're kind of penny pinching, but trying to compete a little bit, but also let's make sure we penny pinch before we do anything. Again, it's a small market thing as well.
Yeah,
so I don't know. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. But go ahead.
No, I'm looking at the chat and listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we look through, or I feel like a lot of fans are looking through these rosy purple glasses with De'Aaron. Like, are we not remembering 16 days not talking to the media? Are we not remembering completely being out of position and fouling a guy that cost the team the game, where it was very clear what he was supposed to do? It was basketball 101, and then you get on the podium and you say what you say. It doesn't matter. Even after Mike Brown being fired, what was the flight like? Oh, it was just a normal flight. I just went to sleep. Like, there is baggage attached to this. When De'Aaron wants to be happy, it's great. But when he's not happy, it's a distraction. And like, I don't know. I just wonder if De'Aaron Fox, let me ask all you guys this. If De'Aaron Fox was on another team, if De'Aaron Fox was in Charlotte and had the same body of work and had done and he is great for the most part, not for the most part. He's a family man. He stays out of trouble. He loves Sacramento. No problems there. I'm talking about inside the building, distractions from time to time. What about the Halliburton thing? The Kings moved Halliburton because Fox was moping around, because the two of them didn't work. Let's add that in. If all of that happened around a player in a small market somewhere else, would you guys, and I'm not just saying you, Alex, but as a fan base, would you be looking at De'Aaron Fox the same way you look at him here in Sacramento? Like, oh my God, that guy's a star, man. He's a top 5 scorer in the NBA. Oh my, we got to have him. Like, I just wonder if it'd be the same.
It's hard to say because like you said, he's right now, he is ours. So yeah, we are going to put purple lenses or goggles on because again, he is ours, and we don't ever have quote unquote stars. It's hard for us to get those. We have to either trade for them or get very lucky and actually draft somebody good. And I think that's what a lot of it is. It is for me anyway, because a lot of times you've seen, our team can play good without him, but there's so many times when he does have to carry us, and we do know he's our best player and best scorer and best whatever you want to say. And no, I agree with you. He has not been perfect. I mean, the whole the response after the fouling against the Pistons, I mean, bro, I was very pissed. I was very mad. I'm like, dude, you can't do that. Like, we freaking bleed that beam, Like, you can't just say that to us. But, it just, that guy's not perfect, obviously. But what player is perfect, But, yeah, he does come with baggage. I just think we're not in a terrible spot. If we did, put some better pieces and actually, make some decent trades, I do think we can possibly do something with this. If it blows up, it blows up. But we've been bad for so many years. I'm kind of thinking, why not try? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you. What's your definition of blows up?
I mean, just go on another terrible losing streak, or it's so. Let's say we go on like a 10-game losing streak. Everybody's making faces. The Doug's not hugging anybody no more. Fox requests a trade. I guess that's all. Just that kind of stuff. And then, okay, well, we tried. It is what it is. That's why I kind of agree with Jerry Reynolds about waiting to see what happens after the season to deal with Fox, because he is talented. People will still trade for him in the offseason if that's going to happen. I'm just thinking we're not the Pelicans right now. I think we're in a decent spot. The guys are playing for Doug. We have an okay squad. We definitely need upgrades. Even you yourself said we have more of a G League bench, which tells you, I mean, how many teams have that are trying to compete, have a G League bench, it's going to be hard to really compete unless we want to actually spend over the apron and all that. So I think we should try. I mean, obviously, I'm a Raider fan, so we suck. I want to see one of my teams try,
Yeah,
so
I hear you.
I'm just in that camp, I guess. And it might blow up in our face, and it is what it is. But we're used to it. It's not like we trade Fox. We're guaranteed to succeed. We might be in abyss for another 10 years again, or 15. So I have no idea. We'll see. I hope for the best. Hopefully we win today. But even if we have Fox or no Fox against the Celtics, that's going to be a really tough game, regardless. And so we'll see. Hopefully we could steal the Milwaukee game. I'll be watching the game and Monday Night Raw. I think it's going to be fantastic. Are you going to be watching both? Are you going to be focused on the Kings? What are you going to do, Ryan?
Kings, definitely. Monday Night Raw can wait. I've got so much going with the Kings. I've got a lot going with Stockton this week. I've got a full week with them. So Kings for sure.
Busy guy. Let me ask you one more question. There's a rumor of Cody versus John Cena for the title at Mania. Would you have Cena go over and break Ric Flair's record, or you just have Cody continuing building his legacy?
Oh man, if that were to happen, do you realize what would happen if that match happened? You would ruin Cody Rhodes. You can't put him in there with John Cena because you already have fans that are starting to think like Cody is slowly creeping towards John Cena-ish behavior. No, man, that cannot happen. No, I would not put him over. Keep Cena the hell away from Cody.
So is John Cena Zach LaVine to you in the reference, or what is it?
No, it's just you've got a good thing going with Cody Rhodes. I think he's awesome where he's at, and eventually, yes, when things get more stale, you'll have to turn him face, but you're going to accelerate that process. You remember when they put like Goldberg and Brock Lesnar together at a WrestleMania when both of them were going to be walking away from the company and they got booed out of the building?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you do Cody Cena, you're going to have the hardcores that it's going to feel like back to the cringe Vince McMahon, 2017, 2018 WWE, dude. I will say this.
Business is about to pick up here.
No, it will not pick up, JR. Business is not going to pick up if you do that. So, no, Raw's supposed to be explosive tonight. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, it should be fun. If that's the case, what do you do with Cody at Mania then? Because you can't do Roman a third time, right? What do you do with him?
I think what you're doing is you're moving towards a Cody Orton feud. This whole thing with Kevin Owens has been predicated around, blaming Cody for Orton's injury, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's the match that a lot of the fan base wants to see. So I think Orton will eventually turn heel and you'll see a face Cody versus Orton. And maybe Kevin's involved in some type of three-way. I don't know.
Dude, maybe I'm being negative, but I haven't enjoyed the Kevin Owens storyline at all.
I think it's been great. I like it.
Okay, and I think it's because we know that Kevin was never going to win the belt against Cody. Like realistically, he was never going. Like I guess who can they put in that spot after facing Roman for 2 years in a row? But I think he's just tough to build in my eyes. You know what I mean? It's tough to.
For sure. For sure.
I don't know.
All right, we got to cut the wrestling. BJ's right. There's a lot of Kings to talk about. I appreciate it though, Alex.
Hey, for
we'll
sure, man. You have a good rest of your night, and you take care.
All right, thank you, brother. Alex, checking in. Will wrestling fans subscribe to Netflix? Yeah, I think pretty much the younger fan base already has Netflix or has somebody's login credentials to Netflix. So, yeah, it'll be fine. What'll be interesting to see is if they do a when the PLE contract comes up, which is next year, if they put everything on one network. That'll be interesting. So, all right, enough with the wrestling. I do want to talk really quick some football because we're going to be out of here at 2:30. Did you guys see this whole thing yesterday with the NFL? I thought there were some really, really good things in the NFL, especially the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Great job by the Buccaneers. I don't think it was dirty. I don't think it was out of line for them to throw the ball and get Mike Evans his $3 million bonus. But to me, it wasn't about the $3 million bonus. To be in the same category statistically with Jerry Rice, the only two to have done it, that's what it was about. Mike Evans has enough money to do what he wants for the rest of his life, and it's generational wealth. That was a stamp on Mike Evans' career saying, you will be wearing a gold jacket someday. You will have a bust made after you. You will be in the Hall of Fame. You know what? I can't disagree with that. And sorry, Kevin, my bad.
Acknowledge me.
I can't disagree with that. And by the way, I saw what you guys were doing about sniffing in the chat. Come on.
That's terrible.
Come on. Let's clean it up. Let's clean it up. So there were a couple of good examples of teams getting their guys their bonuses, but there were also some really bad examples. I almost had this old man's back. When I saw this story hit the internet that Cooper Rush did not play yesterday and Trey Lance got the start, and then I heard Jerry's presser after the game about him being not aware that had Cooper Rush played, I believe it was 80 plays. I've seen it reported a couple different ways, whether it was 80 plays or I think it was 15 plays. Basically, if Cooper Rush had played the game yesterday, he would have hit a $250,000 bonus in his contract. He's getting paid $2.5 million a year. That's an important bonus for a guy like that that's making $2.5 million for the year. The Cowboys instead, even though Cooper Rush has played the entire time for the most part since Dak Prescott went out for the season with hamstring injury, they decided to start Trey Lance yesterday. So Jerry immediately online started getting a ton of criticism, a ton, for sitting Cooper Rush and playing Trey Lance, which was going along with the narrative that Jared didn't want to pay or didn't have the money to pay a running back, i.e. Derrick Henry, the money to improve the Cowboys roster. So when Jerry stepped up to the media yesterday after the game and he said this, for once, I literally was like, all right, I think the old man, I think I believe him. Here's what Jerry said.
Contract incentive play into him not playing today. If he
I
played
didn't even know
55
about it. I didn't even know about it until I read about it. So nothing at all. Those incentives are in there for the team, and we put them in there so that if someone is, in his case, as a backup quarterback, has to play, they've got the financial incentives, but they're usually put in there because of people representing him, and they should be. So he did really earn some pretty serious incentives this year.
It's a travesty that NFL contracts, that's the one sport where unless you are the biggest creep walking the planet in Deshaun Watson, it's the one sport where contracts aren't fully guaranteed. So you've got to get creative with bonuses. Hell, Mike Brown with his extension, they got creative with the bonuses. Now, look, Jerry takes a fair amount on this show. Yeah, see, now that's a good point. So I don't know exactly what the number was. If it was 80, that's a little high. They're probably not getting 80 offensive plays. I'm with you. So whatever. I'm going off of the Dallas reports here that Cooper Rush likely would have hit his bonus yesterday. You know, Jerry takes a lot, especially on this show, for being out there. I mean, he's way, way out there. I mean, listen to how he says Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
Is that not just weird? Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
I mean, Jerry is going to Jerry from time to time, like this time.
If you were a driver of a car and you had a wreck and your hand was almost severed off, but you didn't understand your anatomy, you look down, you're spurting blood, you open the door and run to the woods and either die bleeding to death or shocked. The educated man looks down, knows his anatomy, squeezes and knows his best chance is to wait for help. That's because he's been there a lot and done it. And so I'm waiting, I'm squeezing and waiting for help.
Everybody wants to blame Jerry Jones for being Jerry Jones.
There's a pony in here somewhere is the old adage with the boy scooping up the manure on Christmas Day and whistling while he was doing it. Here comes Santa Claus. Well, that's us.
Jerry is going to Jerry. Jera is who he is. He is who we thought he is. So he shares his blame. But you know who I blame the most for Jera? It's all of these freaking reporters and the people giving him a freaking platform after an NFL game. He is an owner. That's a media circle that you usually see around Saquon Barkley, Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes. But no, the media is egging this on. That picture is from yesterday, from the soundbite that I played. Look at all of those reporters. They look like a bunch of rats nibbling on cheese, like trying to get to the cheese wheel that is Jerry Jones. The reason the Jerry Jones hamster wheel keeps spinning is because all of them. Why? Stop. It's ridiculous. Now back to Jerry and yesterday. Like I said, I had his back until I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I got Jerry's back. I could see the grand scheme of things how that could easily get lost. In fact, maybe that's on Cooper Rush's agent for not reminding the Cowboys of said bonus. And I almost penned out 140 characters having Jerry's back. And then I hear this.
I know that there's been some discussion on what his bonuses, his incentives could do if he plays a certain amount of snaps. Does that ever play into decisions for guys being on the field? Who makes that decision? Does an agent pick up the phone and say, "Hey, by the way, my guys needs to hit this," and you're like, "All right, we got this"? How does that work?
No, it doesn't work that way. I'll tell you, it's usually a look at the past and see where they are. My understanding is that he's done well with his bonus so far this year. Now, he just by the nature of things, his bonus was structured that if something went awry with Dak, then he would have a better opportunity to create a bonus situation. Those are all team. That's for the team. Those are for the team. Those are to create the ability to get players and get them in position. And so usually I've never minded paying a bonus out because that meant.
Well, Jerry, there's your smoking gun. That was his weekly appearance this past Tuesday on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. So what was that, Jerry? You said you never minded paying out a
get
bonus?
Players and get them in position. And so usually I've never minded paying a bonus out because that meant.
Well, my man, you just robbed a backup quarterback playing behind a subpar offensive line that somewhat rallied the troops, that won you some games down the stretch because you said winning was important. You just robbed the man of $250,000 and you lied to everybody's faces. Just when you think this Jerry Jones season could not get any more bizarre or any more worse, this happened. I will never, that's on me now. Fool me once, on you. Fool me twice, that's on me. Jared, I can never think about having your back again, my man. We're done, dude. I was about to take up for you until that came out. Now, here's the other element. Maybe the old man doesn't actually remember. Maybe there's something to that. And if that's the case, the people around him need to make sure that he's taken care of. Being in front of the media isn't the best place if you might be dealing with some type of health condition. Running a football team, probably not in the doctor's orders. So, to the Jones family, if there's something up with him, pull the man back. Don't trout him out there in front of public, or at least do it in a calculated way. Those are the three options. You decide which one it is. I'm leaning more towards the second, but if it's the third, the Cowboys and the Joneses, they need to do something. After all, as much as we make fun of Jerry Jones, and damn it, is it a good time sometimes.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
He is a person, and he deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Just like if one of your siblings or friends was sick. So who knows? Another weird twist in the Cowboys saga. Can you imagine Jarrah ducking a backup quarterback for $250,000? Oh, hell no, I didn't, John. Hell to the no, my man. No, first of all, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. He can still pay the bonus. He is paid same bonus in past under certain situations. Hey, Paul, my man, I'm just going off of what's out there. Cool. If he pays the bonus, I'm sure we're going to hear about it. And Paul, by the way, just to be transparent, we have Jerry on this show every Tuesday. Now, he doesn't actually come on the show, but we have his sound bites every Tuesday. So I keep up with Jerry Jones. So if he does his weekly hit with 105.3 tomorrow, I'll make sure to listen for that. And I will make sure to play it on this show. I hope he pays the bonus. I hope he does. Hey, don't forget, y'all. Yeah, exactly, Nate. You should pay the bonus. Same thing Paul said. I agree. Simple fix. But what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? You know what's scary? Your owner, our owner, Vivek Ranadive, he's closer to Jerry Jones than further away from Jerry Jones. I saw what you guys were putting, sniffers in the chat, all that stuff. But yes, he is much closer to that style of owner where there's that attention element. Don't forget, Grant, he's here, 5 o'clock, doing an open forum show. I'm back at 6:15 with the pregame show, getting you ready for the Kings and the Heat tonight. They look to make it 5 straight. If you're going to the game, let us know. We definitely want to hear from you. We'll have Jerry Reynolds on at halftime, and then Grant and I will wrap up tonight with the post-game show. I appreciate everybody for being here today. It's going to be a busy week. We're going to have shows all week long. Tomorrow will be 1 o'clock. Wednesday will be 4 o'clock. It's our Kings Roundtable. So make sure you join us for that. It'll be Grant, Jerry, and myself. Thursday, probably 1 o'clock as well. Friday, 1 o'clock as well. We'll be doing one this week because I am going to be covering Stockton. While the Kings are on the road, I'll be down in Stockton on Wednesday and I believe Saturday. Wednesday and Saturday. I'm going to go see LeBron's son play and hopefully go see Colby. I really want to focus in on Colby. I'm interested in where his development goes now that Devin Carter's on this roster. But we'll keep our eyes tuned to whether or not De'Aaron Fox is going to play tonight against the Heat. The Heat are dealing with a multitude of issues. De'Aaron Fox is out, by the way, just updated. He is out tonight, so no De'Aaron Fox in this one. So the Kings will be running it back without. Good news for the Kings is Malik Monk, Domas. Minutes were not bad last night. Malik did not play the fourth quarter. In fact, if we look at the final box from last night, your starters, 26 minutes for Keegan, 31 for DeMar, 29 for Domas, 29 for Malik, 24 for Keon Ellis. So the starters should be fresh. It was an easy travel. Hopefully, the Kings should win this one. They're favored by 2.5. I actually think the spread should be bigger, but who knows? The Heat were in Sacramento waiting on them. So have a great rest of the afternoon. I'm back at 6:15, but before that, make sure you join Grant right here on If You Don't Like That, Open Forum Friday, talking NFL, Kings, and much more. Go Kings! Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Court is dismissed.